or larger than what is medically safe set out on a weight loss program, the weight comes off very happy, yeah.
That's all up to you, and depends on how hard you work and improve to where.
You don't have to turn around and be a smart ass about it like that.
All right. Isolate themselves and avoid life.
Well, I guess I better get up and find something to do outside.
I have made myself a prisoner in a room inside of my home.
I could be upset and I eat my food and it'll soothe my pain. Get up, help. I gotta pee.
Thyroid problem, arthritis, and the list goes on.
Gino and Nico. Gino DeCunto is 36 years old, and beyond knowing that he's morbidly obese, his exact weight is unknown. He's living his life in New Haven, Connecticut, with his mum Rhonda providing him company. Obesity runs in Gino's family, and he's taking the same route many in his family took before him. Gino's obsession with food is a family tradition. Every boisterous family event is accompanied by bushelsfuls of food. Big and hearty all the way is their trademark, and Gino is merely following in the footsteps of his elders. Food is the only way of life Gino has ever known, and he's accompanied in his love affair with it by his childhood companion and cousin Nico. Both friends pay homage to the food gods every chance they get, and a little thing like health is not about to stand in their way. It was when Gino's parents divorced that his eating habits completely spiraled out of control, and cute and chubby turned into a mountain of concern. The halt of a burgeoning career coupled with the unexpected passing of his father sent Gino careening into a downward spiral, accompanied with a serious weight gain until he hit rock bottom, and this is where we're seeing him now. Gino's family is full of people who've gone down the path of gastric bypass surgery, and he's reached the point in his life where it seems like the only light at the end of his tunnel. His journey to Dr. Now's clinic all the way to Houston, Texas has been a harrowing and painful one, giving him all the more reasons to get the help on offer. And it seems that he's finally come to the right place as the scale is showing him at a whopping 684 pounds.
Really take care of myself, and because I'm pretty unhealthy at this moment.
Well, I agree with that.
And I've tried the most recent one. I was eating in small amounts of food, and I paid money for it too, which is crazy. But
the human body is not made in one day. The question is, what are you willing to do to save your life?
Pretty much.
We have the dynamic at home that has to change. So we all got to make the changes, right?
Absolutely.
Dr. Now Zaridan proceeds to give a good dressing down to the enablers and indulgers accompanying him to his appointment. It's 2 months down the road, and Nico as well as Gino have been making a combined effort for weight loss. And Gino has been able to make a lot of progress, with the loss of 55 pounds on the weighing scale. So it's on to the next step, and Gino has finally decided to cut the contentious umbilical cord he's always shared with his mother. He's moving on with his life and shifting to Houston, Texas to aid him in his weight loss journey, and Nico has decided to stay by his side. Gino's next appointment with Dr. Now has given him a mixed bag of good news. He's not been able to lose according to Dr. Now's instructions, but a 75-pound weight loss is still better than nothing.
For you to move to Houston. And if you do that and you keep losing more weight during that, then hard for a month, you can slack off and stop making progress.
Of course.
And this is not the 1 month, at least 50 to 60 pounds a month. So that's your goal. So keep working at it. Houston is going to move with you.
Yes, so right now the plan is to have my mom move down with me.
How are we doing with your eating habit?
Excellent. And just trying to keep staying healthy together.
Stay with it. In the meantime, if y'all need anything, let me know.
Okay.
Gino and Nico have been supporting each other, and both are making positive changes.
Seems like it's good enough for Dr. Now, and he's approved Nico for weight loss surgery. There's more good news coming up ahead, as Nico's been able to lose a total of 38 pounds, which is quite near his goal, before he'll be cleared for weight loss surgery as well. Kelly Mason. Kelly Mason was 41 years old and living in Greensboro, North Carolina. Her weight was unknown, except it was quite clear to everyone that she was morbidly obese. Everyday living had become a nightmare for her, and the usual things that are no biggies to us presented an uphill battle at every turn to this young lady. It was obvious that her life had come to a standstill due to her food obsession, and she was struggling with the effects of the choices that she'd been making throughout the 41 years of her existence. Kelly's weight problem was a direct manifestation of a difficult childhood in trying to escape from the memories of her horrendous abuse, which had started at the tender age of 7 and had gone on for quite some time. Her beloved grandmother's passing soon after, and her mother's apathy to Kelly's plight when she found out about the abuse, disconnected her emotionally from the family members who should have protected her. This pushed her further into the toxic relationship she'd already established with food. Fast forward to adulthood, and Kelly was practically knocking at death's door when she realized that if she wanted to live a full life, she had to shed the weight of the monster hanging onto her body. She had made a painful journey all the way to Houston with her friend Leanne by her side. Dr. Nowzaradan broke the news to her that she was 726 pounds, and if she did not work hard to lose this weight, it was going to kill her in a very short period of time.
How was your trip down to Houston?
Very, very painful. I didn't think it was going to, but I didn't realize that like the experience through the airport was going to be like hard on my knees because I'm in pain.
Well, any amount of activity like that is bound to take a toll on you. That's almost breaking the record for the highest I have seen yet. And that's a situation that we have to turn around immediately.
Okay.
I can see from this high blood pressure, blood count in the leg, pulmonary embolism, and reflux.
Heart failure. So I was having really bad shortness of breath and swelling.
So that could immediately. Because every day is a roll of the dice for you as to whether you will survive right now.
He had also admitted her to hospital to run some tests and make sure there was no immediate need for concern before she travelled back. It soon became apparent that Kelly was in dire straits and that her heart was giving out on her quite quickly. A medical intervention could only work if she experienced weight loss within a short time to give her heart some breathing space to work.
Great. Well, we finished running all our tests, and our biggest concern is your heart right now. So significantly right now. And we're going to also start you doing physical therapy every day to get your stamina. We're going to transfer you to a PT facility that will help to get your stamina up even more. Now, you're not going to survive much longer. And what we need to do to reduce the standing heart rate amount of weight and strengthening her heart will be enough to prevent Kelly's heart from giving out soon. But her heart giving out may be imminent at this point, but we'll do everything we can to give her the best chance.
Going into a rehabilitation centre to kick her food addiction was definitely a drastic step, but Kelly found ways to indulge the food monster, even within the strict environment of the centre, and at her next appointment, it seemed that she gained 36 pounds instead of losing 25 more. A further 2 months down the road, Kelly was able to not only lose weight, but she was able to rebuild her stamina under the professional guidance of the physical therapist. She was promptly sent home by Dr. Now to continue her weight loss regime within her own comfortable environment. Kelly eventually moved into her cousin Gary's house, where she shared close quarters with his wife and his daughter. In the months leading up to the gastric bypass surgery, she'd eventually brought her weight down to below 500 pounds, which was a victory in itself. Her gastric bypass surgery was a success, and she was slowly but surely turning her life around under the expert guidance of Dr. Now. Kelly's journey to recovery was promising all kinds of rewards to her, but sadly she passed away quietly in her sleep in the dead of night. Her heart gave out under the pressure of her massive size, and Kelly's victorious battle against her addiction came to an abrupt end. Even though her battle was an incomplete one, it is a source of inspiration for people who are in the same boat as her. Henry Foote tragedy. Henry Foote's story is one that will stay with you long after you hear it. A man who weighed over 750 pounds decided to take control of his life and undergo gastric bypass surgery, one of the most watched episodes of the show. But what happened next was a shocking and heartbreaking turn of events that no one could have predicted. Henry's surgery didn't go as planned.
Lose this weight. It's too heavy on me right now. But my knees and my legs tell me you can't do no more. You got too much weight.
If you need some help, you call me, okay?
What's that unknown fact? I was hoping that he would be well enough to see what I would look like.
Complications arose and he suffered from blood clots, infection and kidney failure. Despite undergoing several additional surgeries to address the issues, his health continued to deteriorate rapidly. Henry was placed on life support and his fate hung in the balance. It was a race against time as the medical team worked tirelessly to save Henry's life. The tension was palpable, and the stakes were high. Everyone was praying for a miracle, but as the days passed, it became clear that Henry's situation was dire. As the situation worsened, Henry's family was beside themselves with worry and fear.
Recovery room, and after a while, we're going to send you to ICU. How are you feeling? All right, Henry, let's get you up and walking.
Ready? Wait a minute. You ready?
Henry's doing much better than he did before operation.
I'm doing pretty good. Hold on.
They watched helplessly as their loved one fought for his life. It was a heartbreaking scene that played out in real time, and viewers couldn't help but feel the emotional weight of the situation. Despite the best efforts of the medical team, Henry's condition continued to decline. It was a devastating blow, and in May of 2013, just a few months after the show aired, Henry passed away. Lisa Fleming. Lisa Fleming had only been 49 years old, and she had become completely bedbound due to the enormous amount of weight hanging on her body. Her daughter and grandson waited on her hand and foot and had become her primary caregivers. Despite her lack of mobility and the enormous toll her weight had taken on her body, Kelly was not done worshipping at the altar of the food gods. She had had a loving childhood and was brought up under the indulgent eye of her father, who called her his princess. It was her dysfunctional relationship with her mother which set her on a path of self-destruction by forming a toxic relationship with food. Her parents' divorce at the age of 9 was a tragedy of epic proportions, which took its toll on Kelly's psyche silently and pushed her toward eating more to forget her pain. By age 19, she was a mother to 3 children and jumping from relationship to relationship. Working in the fast food industry gave her easy access to fried delicacies, and she indulged her food fantasies to her heart's content. Kelly eventually ended up at Dr. Now Zaradan's clinic, who admitted her promptly to hospital to make sure that she started losing weight immediately, a news not welcomed by her.
This leg really bothers me.
Yeah, see all that lymphedema, and we're going to do a quick weight check on you.
Yes, sir.
That's very high. You thought you were at 642 when we talked. I send you, you should have easily been able to lose good amount of weight. Lost weight and you're significantly overweight.
Okay, all I want to do is get cleaned up.
Your test come back okay today. You're gonna have to lose this weight because you're in a very dangerous situation right now. Admitting you to the hospital to start you on a 1,200 calorie controlled diet immediately. Die soon.
Oh, goodness.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
All right.
She was discharged in her daughter's care, where she received physical therapy as well as the instructions of a dietitian, who made a house call. But it became clear quite quickly that Kelly knew that she was flirting with certain death. She was not willing to make changes, and the effort required to bring her back into the fold of the living. Dr. Now eventually sent Dr. Lola Clay to Kelly's house to use her psychotherapist wiles to convince her to get on with the program. Kelly's problem was a conundrum only in her own mind.
Process. So, at what point in time did...
When it got out of hand for me was on the day my mom died.
Before we dive into that, how old were you when you became a mom?
15. Fix it.
Do you have siblings?
One older brother.
I'm sorry about that. How did your family change when your brother was killed?
He would have been at home if he didn't want to be at your house. It holds a lot.
Your mom's not present to blame you for things anymore. It sounds as if you've begun over a lot of the things that have happened in your life. But by being blamed for that, Definitely. So since being under the doctor's care, are you...
She had a supportive family system, giving her all the help she needed, and the best of the best in the medical profession, providing her medical services, and trying to convince her to lose weight. But she was the one who was not willing to let go of the only source of comfort in her life, refusing to see what was right beneath her nose and the writing on the wall combined. She was refusing to replace the comfort she got from food with the oodles of human comfort available to her 24/7. Dr. Now was eventually done with her and sent her home packing, since she was not willing to meet him halfway in her weight loss endeavors. She was able to have the gastric bypass surgery, but developed complications following the surgery, due to which she passed away at the age of 50. Ontreon Shannon. 36-year-old Ontreon Shannon lives in Plano, Texas, and he has no idea how much he weighs, since the local clinic is unable to weigh him. He's dealing with the effects of his overeating ways and has paid dearly for his unhealthy relationship with food by paying for it with his mobility. Ontreon had a pretty happy childhood, considering that he was brought up in a single-parent arrangement. As a child, he'd been well loved by a mother who tried to do her best to provide for her children. Food had always been a big comfort and a source of entertainment in his food-loving family, and his obsession with food was a natural progression and became an acquired habit. Ontreon has definitely confined himself into a corner he's struggling to get out of. He has become acutely aware of all that he's been unable to achieve in his life, but perhaps the thing keeping him awake at night is his failure to fulfill the dreams of his partner who's still standing by his side. His desperation for change has landed him at Dr. Now's clinic, who's wasting no time in telling him how it is. It seems Ontreon has to bring more than just words to the table, and Dr. Now has set him a stringent goal to prove to him that he means business. It's good news and happiness all round, as Ontreon seems to be sticking to the directions given to him by Dr. Now, with the loving support and help of his wife Nuessa.
To try to get help on losing weight, that I'm having to
issue with your eating habit.
Is not the best. Pretty much we're going to I should see results.
Let me ask you this. What is your goal right now in your life?
The combined efforts have gifted Ontreon with a 19-pound weight loss, but it's been met with anything but ecstasy by Dr. Now. His loss is not good enough or far enough, and Dr. Now has dispatched this hopeful contender back home with strict instructions to try harder. Trying hard he is, and the latest success he's achieved is by getting his minister's license, which has lighted a low fire under him and given him a new zest for life. Ontreon's weight loss has been anything but promising, and Dr. Now has sent him to his colleague, Dr. Paradise, for some psychotherapy to show him the light at the end of the tunnel.
I am a licensed minister.
Is that what you want to do for a job?
There's been a struggle.
Okay.
300 pounds.
What happened after that?
So there was just a lot of deaths. That if I can figure out how to departmentalize these things and then deal with the issue.
Nuessa is an absolute pillar of support in every facet of Ontreon's recovery, but the next visit to Dr. Now Zaradan's clinic has brought him bad news on the weighing scale, as it's showing him 15 pounds heavier instead of lighter as compared to his last visit.
It's like that includes psychotherapy too. Did you learn anything from starting therapy?
That I have and to process it, and from our discussion that me and him had, that it was kind of my emotional.
To change your life, and you keep gaining. I don't have any objection for you to.
It seems Dr. Now Zaradan's work is done here, and he advises Ontreon to continue with his counseling sessions so that he can find his way back to life. When he's ready to start living once again, Dr. Now Zaradan will be right here, waiting for him to take him down the path to success and recovery. James L.B. Bonner. James was a 30-year-old amputee who had two major problems he had to contend with each and every moment of his life. Not only was he missing one limb from his body, his enormous weight was putting a huge amount of pressure on his remaining leg, putting it in immediate danger. His mobility was severely curtailed under the load of these twin problems, and he's become dependent on his parents for living.
LB,
What?
come on and ride to the grocery store with me.
I do everything for LB because he's my baby. He's my youngest, and
Dragging my life down to where I'm at now. I'm almost 30 years old living in my parents' garage. Barely doing anything leaves me breathing like I just got done running a 5K.
His parents' love for him and their concern over his self-imposed isolation made them demand cooperation from him, and they tried to push him to leave the premises of his house and start living again. Distressed by the early demise they could see quite clearly creeping up on their son, they were able to push him into seeking help from Dr. Now Zaradan. A few months down the road, and James has made immense progress by losing 109 pounds, and he was cleared for weight loss surgery by Dr. Now. 11 months later, James had achieved a further weight loss of 162 pounds, bringing his weight down to 352 pounds.
So my whole outlook's changed. I know for sure I never want to be the person I used to be.
Good work, because you're doing great.
I will. When it comes to food or alcohol again, I never want to fall back into that.
James has become a success story, and it had taken a lot of tears and sweat to get him to that point. He treated himself to the reward of driving down interstate to have a family get together with his loved ones who had been waiting to see his face for a long time. He was eventually cleared to get a new prosthetic leg due to his enormous weight loss. James had been undergoing counselling under the loving care of Dr. Laura Clay, who had been guiding him through the dark passages of depression back to the light.
Now you can wrap your arms around him, can't you, D?
You look so good.
Great.
Well, we never even wallet then.
Wait a minute.
I've had to add 3 belt loops and...
He had the immense support of his entire family, a professional medical setup, as well as his enormous fan base on social media. But apparently it wasn't enough, and he took his own life one day before his 30th birthday. James's lost battle resonated with the scores of people who fight their own demons on a daily basis and feel like giving up on life, lost in the maze. Colliessa's life had been a constant battle with her weight, and she'd reached a point where her health was severely compromised. Desperate for a solution, she turned to Dr. Nowzaradan, the renowned bariatric surgeon who had helped countless others shed their excess weight. But Colliessa's surgery was not without its complications. She was dangerously overweight, and her medical history was littered with conditions that made the procedure more risky.
I haven't been feeling well a couple of days, to be honest. I've been trying to make the best of it, but it's gotten really bad, like in the last about 3 days. But off and on.
And where is the stomach pain? Which area? Need to get you to emergency room and let's check some stuff out and make sure it is okay.
Okay.
It's about to start deteriorating rapidly and get to a point here soon.
As she lay on the operating table, her heart pounding with fear, she knew that this was her last chance at a healthy life. The surgery was grueling, and Colliessa's body fought every step of the way. Her liver was enlarged, making it difficult for the surgical team to access her stomach. And as they worked to remove a large portion of her stomach, they found themselves battling against her body's stubborn resistance. But even after the surgery was over, Colliessa's ordeal was far from finished. She struggled to breathe and was rushed back to the hospital, where doctors discovered internal bleeding. As they fought to stem the flow, they found themselves battling against time, knowing that every second counted. Despite their best efforts, Colliessa's condition continued to deteriorate. She was diagnosed with sepsis, a deadly infection that threatened to overwhelm her body.
Right there with the ball.
In here?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like real bad in my lower back.
Okay.
Like on this side. When you push right here, it hurt right there.
And as doctors worked to save her life, she lay on the edge of consciousness, fighting for every breath. In the end, the battle was too much for Colliessa's body to bear. She suffered a heart attack and passed away, leaving behind a family shattered by grief and a world that had lost a bright light. But even in her final moments, Colliessa's courage and determination shone through, a testament to the incredible strength of the human spirit. Lashanta White. Everything changed for Lashanta White when she was 13 years old, as she had gotten pregnant and was going to be a mother despite her young age.
I could be upset and I eat my food and it'll soothe my pain. Help. I gotta pee. I hate what my life has become because I'm living in constant misery now. And with all this weight on me, my whole body feel like it's constantly crushed. My weight has gotten so out of control. It's taken almost everything from me.
That, on top of the trauma of her parents' divorce and hurtful ex-boyfriends, caused her to seek solace in food, which is what caused her to weigh in at almost 700 pounds at the beginning of her episode of My 600 Pound Life. While that is not an atypical story for the people who star on My 600 Pound Life, White's episode left viewers reeling for a variety of reasons. Additionally, White had a combative attitude towards Dr. Now, and at one point, she hid fried chicken to avoid being caught eating it. That, on top of her manipulative ways, earned her recognition as one of the most controversial stars of My 600 Pound Life. But not all was lost at the end of White's episode, as Dr. Now approved her conditionally for weight loss surgery, providing she stood up on her own 2 feet. Ryan Barkdoll. Ryan Barkdoll carries a whopping 740 pounds on his frame. His life is carrying on in Columbia Falls, Montana, but at just 31 years old, he's decided to give up on life and let it pass him by. His whole world has been confined to the couch he spends his entire day sitting on, perhaps, but the most disturbing sight is that of him taking a sponge bath sitting on his throne. Leroy and his mum are his dedicated caregivers, waiting on him hand and foot as he languishes on his sofa. It's a sad sight indeed. So much potential flushing down the drain as Ryan tries to fight his memories and lost dreams through binge eating. Ryan's childhood memories are marred by the emotional abuse and neglect he suffered from at the hands of his father. He started looking for approval and happiness from food, since he never got it from his own father. Then, when he shifted to live with his grandparents, was the only time when he found love and approval from any father figure, and his food dependency was curtailed. But then he found out that the man he had considered his father was not even his father, and his biological father had passed away quite a few years ago. At this point, his obsession with food re-emerged with a vengeance, when he learned that the grandfather he considered his own father was dying due to a disease intent on stealing his last breaths from him. His granddad's passing meant that Ryan ended up back under the same roof as his stepfather Jeff, and from that point onwards he spiraled completely out of control, falling victim to multiple addictions. Going off for job training as a welder got him unhooked and put him in control of his life, but unemployment finally forced him back to the one place he did not want to end up in. Cooped up under the same roof as his father, the only way he could deal with his inability to leave that house of horrors was by forgetting through getting high.
Back under control by myself.
So how long have you been in Montana?
5 years.
So what brought...
Dark path, and I had the opportunity to move over here with one of my friends that did live here at the time, but didn't make the bad life decisions that my friends at the time were making, and came here.
So you moved to Montana for that?
I wouldn't say it like that.
However you say it, that's what you're telling me. Seriously.
And
I heard that a lot of times, but that's not the issue. The issue is whether...
In light of the distance between Ryan's residence and Dr. Now Zaradan's clinic, the consulting has to be online. Regardless of the fact the clinic is unable to weigh Ryan, Dr. Now Zaradan has given him his goal of weight loss before he's cleared for weight loss surgery. Ryan is trying to make an effort and spends the entire weeks following a strict diet, but he believes staunchly in indulging his fast food fantasies by treating himself to a cheat day every week. Getting caught out on abandoning his diet by Mum Tammy and Leroy is not a pleasant experience, and is back to his diet plans once again. Ryan has made some changes to his daily routine by picking up on more daily chores in an effort to get in some activity into his day. A few months down the lane, and Dr. Now Zaradan is extremely disappointed with Ryan's failures to show up for his appointment a month ago, and he's been avoiding Dr. Now's calls and forcing him to finally approach Leroy to get him in touch with Ryan.
You're still over the weight limit of the scale.
I know I made it to your goal, Dr. Now. I worked hard.
You found the limit for the scale to be able to get your weight. So whatever progress you made, it was so you can make the trip to Houston. So let's go ahead and see if you can. So we're going to set an appointment for you for 2 months, and you need to lose another 60 pounds to get under 60. That's going to be a lot of weight for you to lose by then.
I understand, Dr. Now, and I'm going to do it.
All right.
Ryan seems to have one excuse after another for failing to stick to his diet routine and his failure to comply with Dr. Now's plan. His failure to show up for his Skype appointments is the straw which broke the camel's back. Mercedes Cephas. Of all of the stars on My 600 Pound Life, Mercedes Cephas' story is among the most heartbreaking.
I've gotten so big that it's hard to do just about anything. I can't believe what I've let my life become. And every day, it gets worse. But I have 2 young kids that I have to take care of.
When she was only 11 years old, her father began physically misconducting her, which caused her to have feelings of shame, guilt, and sadness. By the time she was 15 years old, she was up to 300 pounds and using food to help her deal with the trauma of her past attacks. Obviously, this had a huge impact on her life.
That was the age when my father started sex. And it wasn't just me, it was my sisters too. It started with touching, And then it was more. All of it down. And I doubled in weight by the time I was 13 and was over 200 pounds by then. Because one of the people who's supposed to protect you most is the one hurting you.
But when confronted about her eating habits by Dr. Now, Cephas insisted that she wasn't overeating. She said she just wasn't eating the right foods, even at 773 pounds. And by the end of her episode, after she'd only lost around 80 pounds altogether, Dr. Now was adamant that she be admitted into the hospital, giving her 3 days to decide. Hope and despair. Julian Valentine's story on My 600 Pound Life was a rollercoaster ride of hope and despair. He was a man on the brink, struggling with obesity and its associated health problems. He knew he needed to make a change, and he turned to gastric bypass surgery as a solution. But what happened next was a shocking and devastating turn of events that left his family and the nation in mourning.
You look like you lost almost 90 pounds. Huh?
Yeah, guess I'm doing something right.
Well, 90 pounds is a good loss and shows me you're back on track. And since you're going to schedule your surgery for 1 month from now. And at that time, I want for the effort he has over the past 2 months. It's not quite another 100 pounds, but it's close.
During the surgery, Julian's heart stopped and he had to be resuscitated. The stakes were high and the tension was palpable as his medical team worked tirelessly to save his life. Julian's surgery was complicated by his obesity and the risks were significant. His blood pressure dropped dangerously low and he was rushed to the ICU. The emotional weight of the situation was almost too much to bear. His family was left in shock and despair. As the days passed, Julian's condition continued to worsen. He was in a medically induced coma and placed on a ventilator to help him breathe.
The operation. But the second big issue we have with him is his hernia. Bring the robot. And if we are able to complete that, then that will give Julian is reduce the stomach by 90%. Leave him a small narrow tube. Hernia was in the way, so we have to get a lot of adhesion down and get the pad.
He was suffering from sepsis, a potentially life-threatening infection that can occur when bacteria enters the bloodstream. Despite the best efforts of his medical team, Julian's condition did not improve. He suffered from multiple organ failure and passed away a few days later. It was a heartbreaking and tragic end to a life that held so much promise and potential. James King. Some patients on My 600 Pound Life are so far gone they're almost completely immobile, unable to care for themselves, and confined to their bed because of their weight. That was the case for James King, who weighed in at 791 pounds at the beginning of his episode. Throughout the episode, it's shown that he behaved selfishly. For one, he had his daughter drop out of school so she could take care of him. And his father, despite the fact that he suffered a stroke, took out a second mortgage to finance his son's journey to Houston. But King refused to change. He was continually enabled by his girlfriend Lisa, who couldn't stop bringing him food. It was so bad that Dr. Now called Adult Protective Services on her when he found out she brought food to him in the hospital in his follow-up episode.
Okay, then where's the swelling coming from?
Well, what I think he's trying to say is I've been measuring it at home and he's not peeing out as much as he's drinking.
You think it is because you drank a lot of liquids, but in reality, you're gaining a lot of weight again, and that's the problem. And you think it's all of this fluid, there's no fat in here?
This is what I've noticed recently.
And you two are delusional. If you think that you can give me the same story again, your leg is swollen because you gained a lot of weight. So it's getting bigger and worse.
She ain't giving me no food.
I couldn't
and
tell
the only
you
thing
what...
I'm eating is what she's bringing me.
You don't think your weight has to do anything with your eating habit?
No, I don't.
What do you think your weight come from, thin air? If she doesn't come visit you for 5 days and get your weight down 50
It ain't got nothing to do with her.
If she stays away for 5 days, we'll have you lose 20 to 30 pounds.
I'm not going to bring him food. The last time he was in the hospital,
All right,
sir, I
you gonna
swear to
let
God,
me
I
help
did
him?
not bring him no food.
You just want to blame it on her.
No, both of you. Is that a deal?
No. She's my wife. I've been with her 25 years.
At this point, there is nothing more we can do for James unless he and Lisa start to cooperate with the program. As long as James wants the food, that this is not a situation that they can intervene in. It's a drug, and it's killing James just like any other drug.
Even though King had multiple organs failing him. King has since passed away. Serious success. Vianney Rodriguez's weight loss journey on My 600 Pound Life was nothing short of a rollercoaster ride, with dramatic highs and lows that kept viewers on the edge of their seats. Things took a turn for the worse when Vianney underwent gastric sleeve surgery, a procedure that reduces the size of the stomach to limit the amount of food it can hold.
Over the last month, putting her at 482 pounds, which means she's under the 500. So she's still making good progress. And she has proved to me she's ready to have this out. So if there are any issues that concern us, we will have to stop the surgery early. Go a little bit higher.
During the operation, Vianney suffered a cardiac arrest, her heart stopping completely. The surgical team sprang into action, performing CPR to bring her back to life, but the damage was done, and Vianney's body went into shock, forcing doctors to place her in a medically induced coma. When Vianney finally awoke from the coma, she found herself facing a whole new set of challenges.
I don't feel pulse. Start circumference, I don't feel pulse. Get the crash start. Get the crash start, Laura, now. Okay, CPR. You're both enjoy if you're hurting.
Okay, I need a second person on round for chest.
Her body started to struggle from the strain, and then her condition started to decline rapidly.
Infections and internal bleeding plagued her recovery, and she was forced to undergo multiple additional surgeries to address the issue. One infection caused her surgical wound to open up, requiring yet another surgery to clean and close the incision. Internal bleeding, a serious and potentially life-threatening complication, also made an appearance, likely caused by the initial surgery.
Stop for a few seconds, okay? Yeah, but we didn't do the surgery. You're gonna be alright. You didn't get the operation because of your heart. Alright, you're gonna be okay, alright?
Despite all these complications, Vianney refused to give up. She battled through each setback with determination and grit, and the unwavering support of her healthcare team. She worked hard to lose weight, sticking to a strict diet and exercise regime, even in the face of seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Sheenie Murray. When viewers first met Sheenie Murray on My 600 Pound Life, she was deeply sad about suffering through 2 miscarriages, which is totally understandable.
I'm hungry. I need food immediately. God is gonna take me as far as He want me to. Fried shrimp is one of my favorite foods. I have cravings about 3-4 times a week. I feel like since my body is bigger, that I have to eat more than others.
That experience can be extremely traumatic to not just the person who endures one, but her partner as well. Given that she was also physically misconducted by a cousin when she was very young, it's no wonder that she turned to food for comfort. But there was hope, as Murray went to Dr. Now to help her get both her life and her weight back under control. But alas, she was unwilling and unable to stop compulsively eating.
And at this rate, it's feasible for you to end up getting into 1,000 pounds within the next 5 years. So if you can't get around a little, are you getting your own food or go to the kitchen? You eat whatever, whenever. We are going to eat only 3 times a day, no snack in between. And you're going to have only protein, no carb.
Despite her claims of gaining water weight, something Dr. Now pointed out was clearly not the case. Murray was never approved for her weight loss surgery. She continued to eat foods that were not on Dr. Now's program, including a famously illicit pizza, and never dealt with her underlying emotional issues. Despite leaving Dr. Now's care, Murray set up a GoFundMe for her weight loss surgery. She later filmed herself doing an eating challenge from her hospital bed. Oof, Penny Sager. Penny Sager appeared on My 600 Pound Life in the earlier part of Season 2, rendering her one of the reality show's OGs.
When you become as heavy as I have, it's hard. Sometimes it feels like I'm dead. This is my bed, this is my bathroom, this is my dinner table. I might as well be a prisoner in jail. Addiction has become my life. Every time I had a problem, it's 1 pound, 2 pounds, 5 pounds. And I just kept going.
What do we say besides goodbye?
I don't know.
See you later.
And to come out and load her into that. After we get her out of her bed, I have to bring the mattress in and put in the bed.
All right. Okay. I do.
Take your time.
Straight down.
You gotta pivot to get feet first, so however. All right, you guys.
Yeah, I'm clenching my butt cheeks because that's the only thing holding that mat in place. This is a journey of a family, of a child who wants his mother. You are the one who will lay out this journey safely for all of us.
But unlike her fellow co-stars that season, such as Zalyn Whitworth, Christina Phillips, and Paula Jones, Sega didn't comply with Dr. Now's diet and exercise plan. Although she did drop 40 pounds while hospitalized at the beginning of her episode, which qualified her for weight loss surgery, that was the only weight loss documented for Sega. In fact, by the end of her episode, she managed to gain weight after surgery, which is pretty mind-blowing.
I'm starting to be very uncomfortable without the oxygen.
Okay. Seems like she played a role of being a victim and encouraging family to be enabler. So you're missing your roles?
I'm absolutely missing a role.
We're gonna see how the thing will go with the first operation.
She'll be okay.
She'll be okay, bud. You gotta think positive. That's why we pray.
The operation we're gonna do today is called sleeve gastrectomy. She's having so much challenge with weight loss.
Do you have any plan to walk? No? There is true miracles in the world.
I'm very concerned about Penny's behavior. She's not losing weight anymore. Penny must have somebody sneaking her food. She figured out how to manipulate the system.
Things weren't much better in her follow-up episode, in which Sega claimed she was doing much better and seeing improvements in her health. Of course, Dr. Now didn't agree with that assessment, and matter-of-factly explained that Sega is addicted to food and is delusional about any imagined progress. As for where Sega is now, that's anyone's guess. Reports suggest she keeps a low social media profile and that any photos they procure do not show much difference. We hope she finds a way to get healthy in the future. Angela Johns.
I have made myself a prisoner in a room inside of my home. The life I'm living right now is miserable. I used to leave the house maybe once a week. It's becoming harder to walk. I don't want my husband, Justin, to help me because I don't want him to cross over from being my husband to my caregiver.
Season 7 of My 600-Pound Life brought long-time viewers of the show one of the most controversial stars in its history, Angela Johns. Like others on the show, Johns has a tragic backstory involving physical hurt, non-consensual misconduct, drug addiction, and even prison time. As a result of her multiple traumas, Johns turned to food for comfort, eventually weighing in at 643 pounds by the time she sought Dr. Now's help.
Angie.
Hello.
Hi, how are you doing today?
Hey, Angie, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
You came a long way from being over 600 pounds to almost half of what you weigh now, huh?
Yeah, I've been walking. I don't use a wheelchair no more or nothing.
But not only was Johns downright combative with Dr. Now during her episode, she claimed he was punishing her and said his program was bull. She also tested positive for opiate use and heavy cigarette smoking, but lied to Dr. Now about it. On top of that, she was manipulative to her family members. After losing only 48 pounds and continuing to abuse drugs, Dr. Now gave her an ultimatum: go to rehab or end her weight loss journey with him. Still delusioned, Johns didn't go to rehab, and she claimed Dr. Now was lying about everything. Johns then set up a GoFundMe to help with her expenses, despite her non-compliance on the show. That's some guts. That's all for this video, folks. See you another time.